Hi everyone, and welcome to the My Message podcast. My name is Kyia Mochitani, and I'm your host for today's episode. Every episode, it'll be me right here. And on the My Message podcast, we are working to make our messy life our message. And man, oh man, has my life been a little messy these past few months. I was in a season of, working 3 jobs and having a busy schedule 7 days a week and little to no time for myself, for God, for my friends. It just, oh my gosh, that was a wild season of my life. And I'm happy that I went through that and that I was led in that direction. But I'm so happy that I'm able to film this episode and share what I've learned in that and like the main thing that's happening in my life right now. And I'm in this new season of just slowing down. I'm in this new season of being able to have time for me, for my friends, for Jesus, for opportunities and hobbies that I didn't have that I didn't have time for before. And man, I am loving this season of my life that I'm in, and I don't know. It makes me feel like I'm on fire. Um, I feel really called to do more faith-based stuff on the podcast. So slowly but surely, I'm going to be tying in a lot more faith stuff. Not just at the end of the episode. I don't know. Like that right now is like what is setting myself on fire and setting my soul, not setting myself on fire, what's setting my soul on fire and what is really making me really happy right now. And I'm just kind of following along with it. I just think it's awesome, and I'm happy that I'm strong enough to be able to be at the point where I'm able to share my faith so boldly. But yeah, that's where that's at right now. I wanted to talk a little bit about like a little bit of a life update. Like where am I right now in life? After, working 3 jobs, after working so many hours per week and in this like hustling mode. So currently I am still working. I am a nanny, a part-time nanny for a few families. I still work at my boutique, the boutique job, not mine, but like the boutique job a few days a week. And other than that, I am just putting all of my love and energy into my podcast, into me, into God, into my friends, and pouring in to people. And so I don't know, like this season is just so rewarding. I've been able to be like so much more intentional. I've been able to like connect more with myself because I felt so out of touch with myself there for a moment. It just felt like having 3 jobs and one of the jobs being a nanny job and nannying for multiple people like throughout the week. It just felt like, oh my gosh, like I had so many people to adhere to and to pour into that I couldn't even pour into myself or give anything for myself. And it was just like so exhausting. Granted, I'm like thankful for the hustle. I'm thankful that I was able to do that and showed myself how hard of a worker I am. But oh my gosh, like it gets to a point where like a person can only do so much. And so, resigning from my serving position at the golf course I worked at, and then, coming back from a trip of having no work from Japan and now just getting back into the swing of things and just nannying a little bit less 1 month and a little bit more 1 week or 1 month, whatever. So I don't know. It's just been really, really good for me. And I've needed this so, so, so much. And I'm just so thankful that I'm able to be here right now. I would say the biggest struggle that I'm going through, to be completely honest and vulnerable, like in this new season of slowing down of my life, would be I get really anxious sometimes. I get anxious because I'm like, man, I should be doing so much more. I was hustling. What are you doing? Like you gotta go, 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 Kyia. Like I don't know. I was so caught up in hustle culture that I am so anxious now, slowing down and waking up maybe at 7:30 one day and 8 o'clock the next, whereas I had to wake up at 4:40 before, right? Like waking up a little later for me is like, it kind of like I kind of wake up sometimes with anxiety, like, oh my gosh, you started your day so late, or oh my gosh, what are you doing? Like, you got to get up, you got to go, go, go. Um, and then I also find myself with more time on my hands. Man, I'm spending so much time on my phone. I hate to admit that, but oh my gosh, it is actually so terrible. And so I've really been doing this new thing where it's like at nighttime, before I go to bed, like I'm trying to like cut it out, like cut out my phone. And so we'll see how that works out for me, um, and stuff like that. But those are, I think, like my biggest struggles. And I feel like being so caught up in that hustle culture, I I was like, why isn't everyone else hustling? Why isn't everyone else working so hard? Why isn't everyone else, working three jobs? And it made me actually have a lot of resentment to the people I love, to some of the people I love. And I hate to like admit that, and I'm so ashamed to do so. But um, being able to slow down and be more intentional with my time and be more intentional and more present in my moment, oh my gosh, I've gained so much more respect, and I've just been loving life. Um, I found this on the internet, and I really quick just wanted to share because I don't know, I just feel like this is so powerful, and like this understood me to this like I related to this a lot. It says, "Where does the time go? We speed through the day because we have fun plans for the evening. We speed through the week because we like the weekend the best. We speed through the month because we think we're going to like the next month better. Before you know it, we've sped through months and months of our life, like we have days and weeks and months to throw to the wind, and for what? Most of us are not physically or mentally in the presence of any of our days. We are always chasing after that pot of gold that we think is on down the line. But no, the time we have is now. That's our priceless gem. Now all we have, and now is all we have, and it's all we are promised." And I was like, that is so true for me, because I would speed through my day and to finally be able to be on my phone in the evening, and then I'd speed through the week because I was like, I just need to get to Saturday. Man, I just need to get to my one day off. Man, I just need to get to Sunday so I can go to church or something. And then I'd speed through the whole month because I'm like, this is such a busy month. I got to get through the month. And the next month is a new month, but then the next month would bring all of the other more busyness. Do you know what I mean? And so before I knew it, oh my gosh, like from September to freaking, what month am I in? April. From September to April, I'm like, where did the time go? I just sped through life thinking, oh my gosh, this pot of gold, this is how I'm going to get there. This dream life that I have, this dream for this podcast, this dream for whatever, this is how I'm going to get there day in and day out. But man, I was so out of touch with myself. And oh my gosh, today, like, was I just constantly in this like race to nowhere and in like such a rush. And so I want to share that because maybe somebody's listening to this and they're like, no, that's me. I'm speeding through life right now, and I don't even know where I'm going. Or I'm speeding through the day to get to the weekend, and then I'm speeding through the week to get through the month, and then the next month, you know? Um, so hopefully someone can relate and get a piece of that, because I related to that to a T. Um, Something I want to share is like, we are human beings. We are not human doings. We are human beings. We are not human doings. I don't know if anyone has on their Instagram or like whatever pops up on their reels or explore page or whatever. It's like, I don't know if you see people say like, you gotta work hard, you gotta go balls to the walls, you gotta blah 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 blah, and like just like, like being a hype person and just saying like, you gotta work hard, you gotta be on it all the time and whatever. Um, and when I was in that hustle season of my life, that's like what kept me going. I was like, yeah, that's right. But being on the other side of that, I'm like, I feel like there's a time and a place. I feel like there's a time and a place where we need to be in our hustle, we need to whatever. But then we also have seasons of slowing down and recharging and regrouping. And I feel like that is so healthy and so much needed, because you can only run for so long. Like a person can only push themselves or go so far. And so we are human beings. We are not human doings. We don't have to be doing something 24/7. slowing down is so okay. And I think um I feel like there's kind of like an art to slowing down. I would look at other people like Jake, for instance, who um loves to slow down, and I would admire, like, I don't know how you just sit and watch a show for 2 hours. Like I would not be able to do that. And when I sat down for 2 hours and watched the show with him, man, I was so anxious. And so I feel like there's such an art to slowing down, and being able to allow myself to now do that is just such a blessing and just so good for me. um and then that reminds me, I not reminds me, but the next thing I want to say is, I want to tie this to faith. I want to share, how do we slow down with our faith? How do we slow our minds down? How do we deal with being in a waiting season when God's telling us to slow down? What happens when we don't hear from God and we want to rush through that answer or get that answered prayer? And so, I know that a few people maybe are struggling with that right now. Like, you know what? I'm in a waiting season from God right now. I am praying for something and I have had no answers. I've heard nothing from God. There is no sign. There is nothing. And while I was at the Brandon Lake concert, he made this analogy, and I'll never forget it, and it will forever change me. He said, prayer is like chipping away at a rock. When you chip away at this rock, soon enough, this rock is going to snap. It's going to break. Soon enough, each prayer after prayer, this rock is going to snap open. Your prayer is going to be answered. And so I just want you to continue to pray, is what I would say. Continue to ask for whatever it is that you need guidance and help with, and to not be discouraged, because prayer is like chipping a rock away. um, and there's also so much to say about being in a waiting season. All of us go through spiritual seasons in our life, and I was just in a waiting season where I'm like, God, I need to hear from you. Like, I haven't heard from you, man, and like I'm kind of lost. And so I just was consistent. I just held through, knowing that when I get out of this waiting season, something awesome is going to have come out of it. And so to have faith during that waiting season that you're in. Um, in Luke 10, verse 38 through 42, it says, "Now as they went on their way, Jesus entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her house. And she had a sister named Mary who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. But Martha was distracted with much serving. And she went up to him and said, 'Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her then to help me.' But the Lord answered, her, 'Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her.'" And that good portion is Jesus, is what he's talking about. And man, can I relate to Martha. I can relate to Martha. Being the doer, doing everything around the house, always having to be moving. And when I don't see someone moving, or, I can relate this to Jake, for instance. Jake's the Mary. Jake was, the calm, the cool, and waiting to hear from the Lord. When I was the doing, tired. But I'm like, Jake, don't you want to help me out here, man? Don't you want to help me out with the chores? But no, it's okay to be slow. And so I don't know, I really could relate to Martha about, just being distracted with much serving. And for me, it was much working. I was just so distracted with all the work that I needed to do, with all the going from place to place to place to place to place to then home for the first time, right? Um, and so that story in Luke 10 really like hit home for me, because I was like, dude, I can relate to Martha, but I need to be more like Mary. And then in Matthew chapter 6, verse 33 through 34, it says, "But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble." And this verse made me realize, tomorrow's going to bring its own troubles. I don't need to be anxious about anything. I just need to rest in the Lord. I just need to rest in God and seek his kingdom and his righteousness. And tomorrow's going to bring its own troubles. So let's worry about today. Let's be slow and still and present in this moment today, and fix our eyes and minds on Christ, trusting that in him we have all that we need. You know, we just have to seek his kingdom first and his righteousness. And um, I feel like that is really crucial to um, apply in our life. Like literally take that instruction literally. Um, don't be anxious about tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to bring its own trouble. So why don't we just be present in this moment? Why don't we just rest our mind, seek him first, rest in that, and then maybe we won't be so anxious. I wanted to read, I have this devotional book, and man, it is so good. I don't know if you guys can see it on YouTube. There you go. It's called You Got This, and it's 90 devotions to equip and empower hardworking women. And this particular devotional that I want to read for a moment came at the most perfect time. I remember having a really stressful day. I remember being so drained and reading this. And this was like the one I had this day. It's called Rest. And it says, "And on the seventh day, God finished his work that he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all the work that he had done." When you are juggling work, family, laundry, dinner, and an ever growing to do list, it's difficult to find time to rest. But the truth is that if you don't feel rested, if you never slow down, if you never stop to smell the roses, you'll experience burnout. That's why we all need a me day once in a while to escape the noise, rest up, recharge, and truly put ourselves back together. What would happen if you just dropped it all and walked away for a few days? I know. A few days is hard to do. Literally is exactly what I thought when I read that part. A month-long getaway to Fiji is likely out of the question too. But what about an hour a day? An hour a day set aside for you to experience God's rest. You could get up early while everyone else is asleep, read a book, exercise, or simply pour yourself a good cup of coffee and watch the sunrise. Or if evening is more your thing, maybe grab a cup of hot tea and watch the sunset or the stars shine. Maybe it's time to book that spa appointment. Ask your boyfriend or somebody for a date, and get a sitter for if you have kids. Take a personal day and plan a fun day for you, and do whatever brings your heart rest and fills your soul. Whatever you choose, just vow to get lost without getting lost while scrolling through social media. Try not to think of work, negativity, or anything else that creeps in. Ask God to take all the negative thoughts away and allow his peace to fill your mind instead. It's easy to put ourselves last when there are so many things to do and so many people relying on us to do those things. But if we don't find time to refresh and renew our soul, we could end up feeling empty and mentally exhausted, devoid of motivation, and beyond caring. And then it has a few questions, and I really truly want you to answer these questions if you're up for it. It says, how do you feel right now? I'll answer what you answer. How do I feel right now? I feel recharged and regrouped, man. But when I read this, I felt drained. I felt helpless. I felt so unmotivated. And then it says, do you feel fulfilled? I feel fulfilled. Do you feel renewed? Now I do, coming out from the other side. Are you happy? Yes. If not, what would make you happy? We all need to step away from the roles we are in and take a moment to remember who we are and whose we are. While you're resting, don't forget to listen. It's often in these kinds of times when God speaks to us and when his nudges come and our purpose grows. Taking time away is not selfish, it's a necessary means for you to recharge and stay aligned with God's plan and purpose for your life. And when I read this is when I needed it the most. And coming out from the other side of being able to rest and being able to slow down and being able to listen more to God, be more intentional with my time. Man, it is so true. And that's not to say that maybe the next season of my life picks up a little bit. Absolutely, it probably will. But right now, I'm being totally present in this season I'm in. And especially with summer coming around, I feel so lucky God led me this way. I feel so lucky that, everything happened in this exact timing, because I feel so, so good. And now I know for the next season of my life, when it picks up, to not lose touch of myself. And I know when too far is too far, too much is too much. And so I'm grateful for that experience. But it is healthy to rest. It is needed to rest. When people said, you're gonna get burnt out, I was like, no, I'll never get burnt out. I'm built different. I could never get burnt out. Like, I am thriving. I am blah blah blah. But at the end of it, man, I was so burnt out. I was so 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 burnt out. And so, learn from me and my mistakes, and just know that there is an art to slowing down, that it is okay to slow down. And then next time, when the next season of your life comes up and things start to pick up, that's all right too. And you got to learn from that season and just see where God leads you. And then lastly, I want to end with, I really liked doing this last time, was my talking point cards for Christians. And so we're going to pick one card from each category. So yellow is my faith journey. Let's pick a card. What sermon / Bible passage / teaching has influenced you the most? What sermon? Probably when I heard Christine Kane speak at a conference. That sermon probably impacted me and influenced me the most. Bible passage, my favorite Bible verse is Hebrews 11:1. That's been a game changer for me. And then what teaching has influenced me the most? I guess the teaching of to have quiet time with Jesus and to spend time with him all by yourself and in quiet. Okay, green is the world around us. If God didn't exist, do you think we would have morals or consciences which guide us? I think no matter what in this world, God exists, so I don't even want to think about if God didn't. Personal beliefs. Man, this is like the controversial one I get a little bit afraid of. But do you think that war is sinful? Why? Honestly, I really don't know enough about war and the motives behind war and how people have war, so I don't know. I'm gonna pass on that because I'm not educated enough to answer. And then Bible truths. Why do you need Jesus Christ as a prophet? I feel like Jesus tells us what God wants us to do, and Jesus leads us in the way, and so I feel like that's why. I don't know. There's an answer. Let's see. Because I don't know what I need to do for God. Yeah, so Jesus tells us what we need to do for God. I think that's what I said. I don't know. But that's all I have for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope this touched your heart because it was straight from my heart. But I love you guys so much. I'd love to hear from you guys, any kind of feedback, anything in the whole wide world. I love you with all my heart. Thank you so much for listening. Have the best day ever. Bye.